no one talks about geopolitics. Basically, it's a very strange historical moment we are living in, or we were living in until a few years back, where it really didn't matter because the U.S. was the hegemon. But when you start reading about the importance of geography, demography, so on and so forth, you start realizing how all the human experience is heavily defined by geopolitics. I like, for example, you cannot be a South Korean and not think about the threats that North Korea and China pose to your country. That's very hard truth that every Korean understands. But in the case of Argentina, we are very far away and people don't really think about these topics. What I started realizing is that we are going through a lot of changes in the last decade that will define probably the next 50 to 100 now in Azerbaijan and its neighbor, and Armenia and Israel and Palestine, Ukraine and Russia, and all of these conflicts are starting to activate everywhere, and it has to do a lot with geopolitics.
So then, if I understand the geopolitical issue, I could predict the future.
Well, I mean, you can have a plausible explanation of what's going to happen. Like, for example, in the case of Korea, I'm pretty worried about its demographic dynamic because there's no precedent of a country that has gone through such a population decline. Like, I remember the calculation is that for every Korean alive today, with the current fertility rates, there will be just, for 100 Koreans alive, just 6 grandchildren alive in 100 years, which means that 96% of the population will be gone in 3 generations. And I can't imagine anything else but a social and national collapse if that happens. I started having negative fertility rates in 2018.
But geopolitical issue is not only one. I mean, if I want to understand the geopolitical issue or subject, I have to have interest in whole the world, right? Because but it's very difficult to get the infos and to focus on several things, what happens in the country like that, right? How could you?
Well, yes. Like when you start reading the history, for example, there's a great book on Chinese history, which is China and New History by John King Fairbank. A book, I think it's from 1990 or 1991, that reviews the whole history of China from the first dynasties until when he died, 1990. Reading that history book, it was fascinating. It was like reading a novel, a sci-fi or something like that. So it really, when you start reading about those topics, you just, it takes time, of course, but it's something that you enjoy doing. That's why you can understand how the world works. But one of the secondary effects of understanding the world from this lens is that you become less emotional of what happens around the world.
That's why I cannot have interest in it, because I have to be rational way, right? But I'm not. I'm the opposite way.
It's just like a secondary effect, I say. You start to understand that things are beyond whatever you can do about them, and hence you just don't put your emotionality onto them.
Sort of the maps or words and you that's right? Because of your interest. Even your sleep, you want to imagine the worldwide view or geopolitical issue you want to know, right? So that's why you decorate with the map.
Yes. In the last 20 years, the general trend and talk has been about the digital world. Like everything is about internet. Everyone wants to become a systems engineer and something like that, like a programmer or something like that. But human experience is defined by physical geography, and I have the map. Well, I'm not showing them on video, but I have these maps because they are like a reminder of what's the potential and possibilities of what can be achieved. I mean, I have maps of my own country and
what's the meaning of the map of your room? So then, your country's map. You really obsessed with the Argentina map, right? You want to get more, right? So what's the meaning of that for you personally?
Argentina has around the same population as Korea. It has 47 million inhabitants. Argentina has 2.8 million square kilometers in size, while Korea has only 100,000. So it's like Argentina is 28 times South Korea.
Wow.
It's the size of
super big, super huge.
It's the size of
Europe,
continental Europe.
Wow.
Yes. Is that we are pretty conscious that we are poorer than what our country can provide. And one of the reasons of why I think that is because we don't focus on the dimensions of our country. That this map reminds me of basically keep an eye on physical geography. Because like economists like to talk about macroeconomy, micro and macroeconomy, some big variables, the inflation rate, the interest rate, exchange rate, but they are not really trained to develop a country. They have no clue whatsoever because they have no idea of economic geography. And it has been a trend for the past 40 years not to learn about it.
So you want to solve the problem of your country and make the solution develop to your country economically?
I know that I'm not capable of doing that because the problem of Argentina is political. It's not Argentina, in my opinion. You might agree, is one of the few countries, underdeveloped countries that can, under the framework and restrictions that the global capitalism sets, can actually develop. Most underdeveloped countries cannot develop at all because I always pose this example. Let's imagine Tunisia. A North African, a North African country that has no mineral self-sufficiency, food self-sufficiency, energy self-sufficiency. When it starts to raise the Tunisian families' incomes in local currency, what will happen is that automatically Tunisia will start to import more food. It will diversify what it imports as foodstuffs, like from wheat to more meat. Then it will start importing more cell phones and machines and so on. And rapidly, the Tunisian government will lack international reserves, dollars. So it will have to devalue, and it will have a runoff inflation. But Argentina has a self-sufficiency in everything that you need to have a modern society. The reason of why we have a very unstable currency and hence inflation is because we are in what I define as a low-intensity civil war. It's like not with guns, but basically in the political sphere, you have a very you have a stalemate between two sectors, and it always causes this instability that everyone knows, because Argentine instability is known abroad too.
So that's why you have to solve, right?
Well, I mean,
you
I
have
see.
to solve.
I said that I cannot
It's your
solve,
mission.
but I do say that I mean, I do understand that it's important to create awareness of this, like this problem.